Hello, Tom Levesque here with a special edition of the Armchair MBA. Today, we will be rating and ranking the top shows and channels on YouTube in the mob genre, all the way from boss down to associate, which shows a lineage of the traditional mafia family. And I picked shows, bigger shows, some smaller shows, and some in between. So first up is Sammy the Bull. Okay. Now, in real life, Sammy the Bull reached up to underboss status. At one point, I would have him as the boss of the entire genre. But at this point, I'm going to put him in as capo. Why? In the beginning, he was episodic. He had episodes. The prompts were good. The editing was good. His genre was good. Everything he did was newer stories, fresher stories, or stories that weren't lesser known. And he crushed it. I don't know if he changed producers or changed direction or whatever. I've been watching the lives. It's not his forte. I think he's going back to pre-scripted shows. But with that being said, strong viewership, strong loyalty. He was on the show. I thank Sammy for that. But I have to downgrade him to capo of the mob genre. Next up is Michael Franzese. I would put him at underboss, and some people may be rumbling in the comments. He should be boss. He has 1 million subs. He's the biggest out there. Well, actually had him at capo because he does a lot of non-mob stuff or applies mob logic to different and various stuff. So Michael's a friend. I text him all the time. He's very responsive. He called in the show recently. I'll give you why he's underboss, and I'll give you why he's not boss. The reason why he's underboss is he's the one who's doing it correctly from a business perspective. Most of these people are service providers. Give me donations, sign up for this, sign up for that. But he's actually building equity by having products, Franzese wine and some online products that people are involved with. Not just give me donations, but sign up to a different community. And he hooked up with this guy, Peter Goog, I forget his name. And he's a big online influencer and knows the kind of online classes applying into his platform, and along with the Franzese wine, as long as with the slices. He become an asset-based business, putting him head and shoulders above the rest, where most of these folks are just a service-based business, which dies when the service is over. But you build equity by owning product or online assets. The only reason why I'm not going to put him as boss, and I love Michael, but always real fair to me, is he kind of shied away a little bit from the mob stuff, applying mob logic. But if you're like a hardcore mobologist, I think you'll agree with the underboss designation. Next up is OC Shorts. I have to put him up there with underboss. You might think he's a capo, but he is an underboss. He is the pinnacle of consistency. He has an asset-based model. He doesn't take on sponsorships. He doesn't get involved in a lot of the nonsense. He just stays in his lane, creates great content, well-researched content, and at 50,000 subs, although not the biggest player in the space, a leader in the individual content creator side. Not a mobster himself, just a content creator, but does it well and elevates him to underboss status. And don't be surprised if he reaches boss status someday. Johnny Ayla. Okay, now I have to put him where he is in real life, associate level. Now, at one point, Johnny and Gene show, in terms of ranks, was easily an underboss. Challenges, he took a little break from YouTube. He's kind of hooking back up with Felix. I'm a big Felix fan. I interviewed him in the past. But I just think they need some time to reestablish themselves and get their stride. So I wouldn't prick his finger as far as the mob stuff yet. I'll put Johnny Ayla as an associate. Jeff Nadu, Sit Down News. Mob History Podcast. Sit Down News is John Pennisi. I will prick Jeff's finger and enter him into the Cosa Nostra of the mob genre. Jeff does a great job at covering mobsters that are little well known, like lesser well known, kind of like those fringe stories or stuff on mobsters that mobsters that are known but lesser known facts. And that's Jeff's wheelhouse. He's backed by Barstool Sports. He has a great sub following. It has even, I think, 10,000 more than I do, and just does a really good, consistent job. The only knock on him, I think he might over collaborate a little bit. That's what I think he's holding him back from Capo. I think what collaborating brought him up to this point, but sometimes what gets you here won't get you there. So if Jeff stays consistent, like OC Shorts, I would have him a Capo status next time I do this. My former colleague, John Pennisi, just like in life, he was a soldier with Lucchese family. I have him as a soldier here. What John does is provide recent information, provides fresh information, and I think he's doing a very nice job with covering a lot of the stuff that's going on in Italy. So I kind of like his perspective on how he takes an American Cosa Nostra view to what happens in Italy, past and present. My only knock on, I think he over edits a little bit, but kudos to John, and I have him at social level. Dom Siccali, I have him at Tika, 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 Tika. Io stai registrando un video? Dammi 5 minuti, per favore. Okay. Dom Siccali. Okay. I have him at capo status. Now, not because he was a capo in the street, but because he came on hard, he came on fast. Last time I checked was at 7,000 subs very quickly, which is a lot for this space. And he's providing some really critical stuff and information for thus are into mob content, specifically post Gotti era, and a glimpse from a made member's point of view in the Bronx. I don't believe there's been yet a informant that was Bronx space that flipped for any family, let alone the Bonanos. I like what Dom's doing. My only knock is the rapping. I would put him a little higher if I could. The rapping holds him back a little bit. I just think he needs to work on his cadence. Just having fun with you, Dom. But I put Dom as a capo there. Next is Jimmy Calandra. Now, Jimmy Calandra, although an associate in real life, I'm going to prick his finger and have him inducted into the mob genre as a soldier. Why do you ask? Number one, does not have a digital marketing background. Did it all by himself. Really probably was not great with computers, not great with content, had a green screen that just sat there. So it was very genuine, and he started off very strong. Respectfully, what's holding him back from even higher is he had some setbacks. So again, what brought him here was kind of his roughness, work ethic, and did a lot of great content, whether you like him or not, did a lot of great content, but then kind of got jammed up a little bit in some of the nonsense. That's what I think is holding back from a higher tier. But at the bare minimum, for a guy who's from the street, who was an associate, who just jumped on YouTube and just like kind of just shoots from the hip, whether you like him or not, is not easy to do. And I kind of pricked his finger and made him a soldier. This is one of my favorites and one of the shows that you should not sleep on. Jay Colletti's Rackets. I'm going to put her as the underboss. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. She does it with such style. She does it with such grace. She does it with such respect. She is what this genre should be. And even myself aspire to. Mob Reporter. Now, this is a biggie. I think it's about 500,000 subs. They are, and you guys may or may not agree with this, I put them at boss status. Well-produced videos, 11 to 15 minutes, take complicated subjects and put them in digestible form. Highly, highly, highly recommend Mob Reporter. And if you're into mob content in US, Canada, and Italy, Mob Reporter is where it's at. Okay, Deeper Globalism. They haven't posted in a little while, and I would normally have them as a capo, but I'm going to put them as a soldier. I love the professor. He does a great job. They're very strong on Italy-based Cosa Nostra, Ndrangheta, and Camorra. They do a great job, again, taking complicated subjects and simplifying them. They just haven't uploaded as much, and I would like for the professor to cover a little more of the stuff in the US. Now, Lee Cole. Now, Lee and Cole and I had our differences in the past. We have since made up. I can't let what I feel about him, good, bad, or ugly, influence. I would normally not even have Lee Cole on this list. I have to put Lee Cole as an associate. But I will give him this. He's going in the right direction with James Proctor, who kind of covers it factual. What's holding Lee back is two things to getting his finger pricked proverbially is I wanted to wash out kind of the Danny Trio era. And then number two is if he can get his soul mob content and knowledge up, certainly next time I do this, he'll be at a higher level. Bill Stacks. Bill Stacks, I have as an associate. This is a guy that I want to make. This is a guy I want to prick his finger. I'm a big fan of his show. I think he does a great job. I think he veers off at times, and he's got to market himself better to get his views up. Once he does, he'll be a rock star. But for now, we're going to put him at the associate level. So this is where I rank everybody in the mob genre. Let me know what you think, and then of this list, how I rank them, number one, and number two. Drop some shows below that you want to see on the next list of mob genres ranked, an armchair MBA analysis.